Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Underdog Lord, Sonic Views, and I watched the movie Weird, the Yankovic story, with the tagline, "The world belongs to the weird." Ooh. You know, I know about Weird Al, I know about his music, I've heard his music, you know, I know about him for, more than 10 years. So, I'm kind of familiar with him. This movie was indeed weird. It was absolutely ridiculous, just like his music, but in a good way, Obviously, this movie is a lot probably embellished. See, with the other three movies that we've watched so far, there's some bits embellished, but with this, there's not just this, no, there's this much, I don't know what's real and what's not. I have a hard time placing with this movie what actually happened and what is just, sucked out of his fun, or embellished, basically. Yeah, let's just start with the movie, shall we? We hear a narrator talk, and the next thing that we see is two doors from a hospital, open. We're inside of a hospital and two doors open. We see El Yankovic on a brancard, being rolled by four people. Two men, a man in the back, and a woman there who's checking his eyes. We're now in another room, and they're using the defibrillator, to try to start his heart, which I'm gonna talk a bit, after I'm done with this. And then they do a bit of the manually, giving him air, with that squeezy thing. I don't know what they're called. And they try to use that 3 times the defibrillator, and then the doctor says, "Okay, nurse, we're gonna call it. Time of death, 7:30. And then suddenly, Weird Al, he gets back up, he screams, and he looks around, grabs the doctor, and says, "Quick, I need some papers and a number 2 pencil." I'm gonna leave it at that, because if you don't know what's gonna happen next, watch the movie yourself. Like, that part can be real, but I don't know if it's real. It can be embellished, but back to the defibrillator, that thing that you use on the heart. It doesn't work if somebody's heart has stopped. They're not made for that. And how credible I am, Alright, we're now in my kitchen. As you can see, I have a certificate from the Red Cross, to give first aid. It's just basic first aid, as you can see, but it's still something. So, like I said, the defibrillator that you see in the movies, you don't, yes, you use it on a heart, yes, that's right. Usually not right on the chest, but on 2 different places. Well, like this, not like this, because your heart is not here, it's here. So you're on these two places so that they connect, and the electricity can, well, the shock can go through both of them. It's like just like with the power lines. If you don't touch both of them, if you just touch one of them, you're fine. But if you touch both, you're dead. That's why birds are fine if they're sitting on them, because they don't touch both of them. Because if they touch both, they're connected, because one's going that way, one's going that way. So anyway, but that they use it just if your heart, usually your heart goes, the pump like it usually, like it should be. But if your heart goes, like that, like it shouldn't be, like it goes vibrating a bit, then you use that thing just to get it a restart, that you hope that it goes back to the normal pumping. That's a defibrillator is used for. So what you usually see from if somebody's heart has stopped, that doesn't work. Well, what I've learned, from the lessons that I get the certificate from. So if somebody has a heart attack and their heart has stopped working or something like that, I mean legit, it stopped beating, that thing doesn't work. Just use chest compressions, use the Bee Gees song, Staying Alive, I think it's 2 inches or something like that into the chest. If you want to know, more about the chest compressions, look up a video, because that explains it as a professional, because I ain't a professional. And if you want to know more about defibrillator and shit, look it up. Because I ain't a professional. I just have a certificate, and I know that that thing doesn't work on a heart that doesn't beat. It's just to get it, give it a tap, that it goes back to it should be, if it's vibrating or an irregular heartbeat, basically. Vibration or irregular heartbeat, then you use that thing to get it, a restart. Just with your phone. If your phone doesn't work, you put it out and back on. Anyway. The parents were, when Brett L was still young, they gave kind of shitty advice, they were kind of bad parents, because, well, in the movie they said, stop who you are and what you love. No, you should do the opposite, be who you are, just be who you are and do what you love to do, except if it's illegal, then it's stop what you're fucking doing, you crazy psycho. Like if they're harming animals, I mean that, or anything other disturbing that your child shouldn't do as a child, or as an adult actually, Luckily, I'm not a parent. Yet. Maybe never, but then I can be a skunkle. Anyway, this movie, it was a decent movie. It was funny. There were lots of different singers and songsters. Lots of different singers in this movie. Obviously, all played by a different actor. But it was funny, to recognize some people here and there. Obviously, some of them didn't really look like. Well, they kind of look like them, but it was not like really. It was not for. Oh yeah, they really look like them. Like the guy that played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. He looked like Freddie Mercury. Or the others. From the Queen. They actually, in my opinion, they look like them. Now, I still want to see a movie about Ozzy Osbourne. A movie like this, well, like that about Ozzy Osbourne. Because he did also the craziest shit. And it would be really entertaining. But this movie, it was a decent movie, so I'll give it 3.75. Yes, 3.75. Because I couldn't make what's real and what's not from this movie. So 3.75. I'm good with that. But don't forget to leave a like, recommend a good weird movie down below in the comment section, subscribe to the channel, comment on Discord, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for E.T. Then external terrestrial, something like that, which is kind of weird, E.T. means that, but it says basically 2 times, the extra but I didn't came up with the title. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Because today will be no Twilight Zone. Tomorrow, hopefully, we're gonna watch the second season of Twilight Zone. Start with the second season.